Update. Am I the asshole for leaving my sister's wedding early after her maid of honor humiliated me in her speech? The same day I posted, my dad called to check up on me and see if my sister and I had talked things out. When I told him no, he said it's better if we talk about it now and assured me that I have nothing to apologize for. If my sister thinks she has nothing to apologize for, then the least she can do is make her best friend apologize or fully realize that the joke was out of line. By the way, my brother and I met 4 days ago, and he told me that Bill, my sister's husband, didn't like the way the MOH called me a screw-up in front of everyone, and some of those who laughed voiced later that they did so out of nervousness. On Monday, my sister called me to talk. When I made it to her place, her best friend was on the phone and didn't put it down for a second. My sister started by saying that just a few years ago, I would have laughed hard and not taken the joke as an insult. I told her maybe some laugh because they don't know the reason she called me a screw-up. For context, when I was 16, something happened, and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 to 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair and the back of my head/neck. My sister knows everything. During our conversation, my sister did most of the talking. At some point, I felt like my sister had called me just to blame me again without trying to understand my perspective. When I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me toward her with each sentence as if to say, "Do you understand?" or "Okay." I hated it and felt irritated. I'd honestly kept thinking, if I pushes her away, would I be in the wrong? Would they just call me mental and tell family I got physical? I tried to leave, but she insisted that no one was leaving until we sort this out. She told her best friend to just apologize. She refused and reminded my sister that I was the reason her husband got angry at her on their wedding day because I couldn't take a joke, and when I tried to explain why, I told her if she had focused her speech on the bride/groom, then maybe he wouldn't have had a reason to be angry. She refused to listen and brushed my words off. She said, "Yeah, whatever. Sorry, I was glad it was finally over," and as I was about to leave, I heard her say, "Can't take a joke that everyone knows is true." Both of them laughed, but my sister stopped mid-laugh and apologized. I didn't say anything and left. I think I'd had enough. I mean, I know I'd had a few rough years. I dropped out of college for a while, fine, but I've since gotten my life back on track. My parents helped me through it all and never made me feel like a burden. At first, I was on some strong meds that made me feel tired/sleepy most of the time. After a while, I started to feel a little better with therapy and my family's support. During that period, it was me, my parents, and my brother. My sister was 3 hours away for a job and used to visit sometimes and would often bring her best friend along with her. Looking back, I don't want to say she hates me, but I know she felt ashamed to have a family member struggling with mental health issues. I don't know how to explain this. I've made up my mind and decided to go NC for now. If my parents and my brother, who were there when I was going through it all, never made me feel that they're ashamed of me, then why would she? I'm still on some meds but feels much better than before. I have a stable job, my own place, and friends who loves me for who I am. I can say I'm proud of myself a little. I love my family to death and tried to maintain a relationship with my sister all these years, but I'm trying to improve myself, not constantly be reminded of what I was a few years ago.
Am I the asshole for demanding that my GF apologize to my son and refusing to kick him out? I have been with my GF for 3 years. I have a 13-year son, James, and she has an 11-year-old son, Mark. Mark and James have different bedtimes. Mark goes to bed at 8 and James goes to bed at 9. Mark also has severe ADHD, autism, and a lot of emotional regulation problems. Due to his issues, my son isn't particularly fond of him. They butt heads a lot, mainly because my son doesn't think that they get fair treatment and usually is surrounding bedtime. Mark often fights us to go to sleep, and by the time we finally get him to stop throwing a tantrum, it's around 8:45. James feels that he should be able to stay up later because Mark is awake until 8:45, which is 45 minutes past his bedtime. So at that point, James runs his mouth nearly every night about it not being fair to him and that you should be able to stay up 45 minutes later. However, this also happens even when it takes only 10 minutes to get Mark in bed. James gets pissed off, runs his mouth, and says he should be able to stay up an hour later because Mark was in bed at 8 p.m. when he was supposed to be. My son can be a dink sometimes when it comes to running his mouth, and he's been spoken to so many times, grounded more often than he should be as well because he is disrespectful when running his mouth. So in no way am I commenting his shit behavior here. I've been trying to correct it, but he's a kid and he's just being an ass. Anyway, at 8:15 last night, my GF was trying to get Mark down for bed, and it's becoming a problem because it's just a bad night. James goes into Mark's room where my GF was and says, "So I'm staying up an hour later then." My GF says, "No, you're not actually. Get out." This sends Mark into a conniption because now he thinks James is staying up an hour later because James is running his mouth and Mark doesn't process information the same way we do. So it sends Mark into a new round of fits. James didn't leave the room and instead says, "Tell me how this is fair. Explain this to me. Why is he staying up every day and night but I can't?" My GF again told him to leave the room. I go in, and before I can even open my mouth, James says something under his breath and my GF loses her shit. I have never seen her be anything other than a kind, overly patient woman, so this was a complete shock to the system. She screams, "Get the fuck out and mind your own fucking business." James immediately shuts up and walks out, but apparently that wasn't enough because she just snapped. Again, this is not normal. She followed him out into the hallway and said, "Better yet, pack your fucking shit. You're no longer welcome in my house. Go back to your mom's." I step in completely, told James he is once again grounded from everything and to go to his room, and then told my GF to step outside and calm calm down. She is still flipping out at this point and says, if that kid is still in my fucking house by the time I come back in here, then I will call the cops and have him removed. I am so fucking tired of that little puke disrespecting me and you doing jack shit to stop it. She goes outside. I go talk to James, tell him he's out of line, and this will be the last time he opens his mouth to run it. When my GF comes back in, I tell her she needs to go apologize to my son and that he will not be moving out actually. She says, I will evict you if he doesn't leave. Actually, no, I think you need to leave anyways. I'm fucking done. She told my sister today that she truly wants both of us gone and took off for the day with her and her kid and told me I had better be out of her house before she returns. I have nowhere to go and don't plan to leave, but I still think she's being ridiculous. Am I the asshole for refusing to kick my son out and demanding she apologize to my son? Am I the asshole for telling my GF she's selfish after I told her I may leave her parents' birthday party early and most likely breaking up with her after the ensuing fight we had? Hey, so I'm a surgical nurse. Sometimes my schedule is awesome and sometimes it can get busy. It's a part of the job, ha. Anyways, it hasn't really affected much about our relationship so far. I attend all of her family events and gatherings I get invited to, and we spend a lot of time together during the week or weekend both. I always find time to be with her. Now next weekend is her parents' birthday party on Saturday. I've been working a lot these past 2 weeks, but that's mainly because I asked for a couple days off during that weekend and on Friday too, so we can help with prep if needed. Today I woke up to a call from my boss. My coworker's mom suddenly died. I'm 28, this coworker is around 30. Her mom was still a young, healthy woman, but they were out by a swimming pool and she had a heart attack if I understood it correctly. They did CPR on her with paramedics for an hour, but unfortunately it didn't help. My boss asked me to come in this Wednesday instead of this coworker. I said yes, of course, that's not an issue, give her all the time she needs to grieve. This coworker also has a Sunday shift, and I said in case no one can take that shift, we are seriously understaffed. I can come in, but I'll be after the party, so maybe a bit tired, ha. It could work, I just have to leave the party early, which starts in the afternoon. Like I would leave around midnight, take a couple hours of sleep. But since that call, my GF was cold to me, telling me there's no way I'm taking Sunday shift, etc. I tried to explain there's only a very minimal chance I will have to, but in case I have to, I will obviously cover for this person. This coworker is one of the few people that always help me when I needed help. Whole morning was terrible. She was angry and I told her she's being selfish. That stuff like this happens and we need be at least a bit empathetic. Then she went off at me saying my boss isn't stupid for doing what she can to keep me from leaving for a different hospital. Because I'm always ready to come and work and I'm always doing all the work that has to be done at work without complaining, etc. Basically calling me a pushover, which I'm very far from. I'm pretty well respected by all the senior doctors because I speak my mind always and stand up for myself and others. After listening to this and arguing about me helping someone whose mom just died, I got angry too. Told her I got enough of this selfish behavior. This isn't the first time she's like this. For example, we only been to 2 events on my family side, and both times I saw my brothers after a long time and we would be having fun and she keep hurrying me to go home. And then she would make a scene in front of my family because at 6 p.m. I wanted to stay an hour longer. Then she wanted to leave my place. And so I just said, okay, I'm done dealing with this and let her leave. I haven't been responding to her texts since, but she's saying she feels like anything she does is always bad in my eyes, etc. And I was just thinking, did I overreact? TLDR. Am I the asshole for calling her selfish after she got mad? I said I will cover a shift for a coworker whose mom died unexpectedly. Did I overreact?